What is coronavirus? Everything you need to know about this frightening disease. Every time a new disease appears in the news, it causes a mass panic as people understandably get scared that they may be at risk. Suddenly, every sniff and every cough is placed under minute scrutiny. The latest outbreak to hit the news is the coronavirus, and once again, this has caused a huge amount of fear and uncertainty. And again, this is understandable. The coronavirus is a disease that spreads quickly, now with over 20,000 cases. While it isn't generally a fatal disease, it has already taken. Coronavirus is more widespread than the SARS virus ever became, and it is showing no signs of slowing down. Gradually, it's making its way into other countries. But is there really cause for such alarm? Statistically, your chances of getting the coronavirus are extremely low, lower than winning the lottery or getting struck by lightning if you are located outside of Asia. But while this is true, it's also extremely important that we prepare for what might become a more widespread problem, that we know how to protect ourselves, and that we understand this event that is of huge global significance. The coronavirus is not a single virus but actually a family of viruses that are known to cause a wide number of different illnesses. These coronaviruses (CoV) symptoms can range from the common cold, all the way to more serious flu-like diseases or MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. Contrary to popular belief then, the coronavirus is not a new virus. In fact, the SARS virus that previously dominated headlines is actually a form of coronavirus. The CoV virus that we are currently hearing about in the news, is actually the novel coronavirus, or nCoV, which is a strain that has not previously been detected in humans. The name coronavirus comes from the Latin corona, which stands for a crown, or halo. This describes the appearance of the viral particles, virions, which have a kind of as with any virus. The difficulty with treating this condition is that it is known to mutate rapidly, thereby making effective vaccinations or treatments difficulty. Viruses are different from bacteria. Viruses are smaller and cannot live without a living host. They operate by attaching themselves to cells and then reprogramming those cells to reproduce. Whereas many bacteria are actually harmless and even beneficial, the vast majority of viruses are harmful to us and are responsible for conditions such as strep throat, tuberculosis, and UTIs. Of course, viruses are also well known to cause the common cold and the flu. Whereas antibiotics can be used to kill bacteria and end a bacterial infection, viruses are treated with antiviral medications, which are not effective at completely killing the viruses but rather simply preventing the spread by hurting their ability to replicate. How it spreads. Like a virus, coronavirus needs a living host in order to spread. This means that the transfer of the virus must usually happen directly between people, usually traveling no more than 6 feet from one person to another. It is believed, though not confirmed, that this spread acts similarly to the spread of the common cold, flu. That means that it will travel on droplets of saliva when someone coughs or sneezes. The droplets may then be inhaled by another person into the lungs, where it is thought that It is currently not confirmed whether the coronavirus can spread by surfaces. If so, the contact would have had to be recent, but it is generally a wise move to act as though surfaces may be contagious. The coronavirus can also spread via food, which is how it is believed that the virus initially made the leap from animals to humans. Good food hygiene is more important than ever then, and it is likewise important to consider the source of your food. A brief history. Here is a brief history of coronavirus and what caused it. The coronavirus that is currently being discussed is called a novel coronavirus (nCoV). This condition began around December 2019, when there was a cluster of pneumonia cases caused by this previously unknown virus. It's actually thought that this version of the virus likely began in bats. A new study published on January 29 in The Lancet looked at 10 genome sequences of the coronavirus called 2019 nCoV, taken from 9 patients from China. In all 10 of these sequences, 99.8% of the genetic makeup was the same. That tells us that the virus is newly affecting humans. We know this because as a virus propagates and lives for longer, more changes are introduced to the genome as it mutates and evolves. In other words, the virus has recently jumped to humans from another species. The researchers found that the sequences were almost identical, suggesting a single source that must have been the primary host not long ago. To find out more, the same team of researchers compared this sequence to a library of other viral sequences. They found that the closest match was against similar CoV that possibly, it began life in bats. Both of the two near matches found shared 88% of the genetic makeup with the new version. So how did this virus manage to make the leap? Because no bats have been sold at the Huanan seafood market, believed to be the source of the virus, it is now thought that there was likely another stepping stone animal that transmitted the virus. In other words, the bats infected an animal that was then consumed by humans. One possible culprit is snakes, though it is not currently known whether the virus is able to affect snakes. However, more recent speculation also questions whether the seafood market is, in fact, the source of the illness. The first case of nCoV was reported on December 1, 2019, and that patient had no known link to the seafood market. The data also showed that 13 of the earliest 41 hospitalized patients had no link to that marketplace. New data suggests that the very first infections may actually have occurred in November. That's because there is an incubation period between the infection and the onset of the first symptoms. It's also worth considering that as many of the symptoms are very similar to the flu, some patients may not have reported the condition at all. This is important to consider when estimating the potential number of cases. How the condition is being contained. Governments are taking measures to attempt to control the spread of the virus. P.S. This book was written at the begin pandemia, in the USA was only 11 viruses. How interesting. Read How to Change the Opinion of the Specialists. Next parts we will post very soon.